Hey guys, what's up? It's Colin here. I am your cult leader. Is that weird? Hey guys, it's Colin here from the Backpackers Cult. Now, today we're gonna do some things a little different. Can't say I've ever done one of these videos, but hey, let's go. Many of my friends and family know me first and foremost as a filmmaker. I have made music videos, event promotional videos, short films. I've made little mini documentaries. Recently just got into travel filmmaking, and now I guess I'm making vlogs and tutorial videos for YouTube. So hey, it's always a first for that. I want to talk to you about my adventures into mobile filmmaking. Now recently my camera broke. It went for a while where I wasn't creating as much as I was hoping to because I felt stuck. My wallet was hurting. I didn't have the money to purchase the latest and greatest camera. As I was sitting home, I was just sulking, not creating, scrolling through my phone, just sitting there wasting time when it dawned on me, holy crap, the camera on your cell phone is hella powerful. And it dawned on me because I watched that one film on Netflix, it's Tangerine, where they shot the entire film on an iPhone, and it sparked a little imagination where I realized, hey, why are you sitting around doing nothing when you could try something and use your cell phone to make films? That's when I went to YouTube and started watching a bunch of tutorials on mobile filmmaking, and holy crap, it blew my mind. There is so much you can do on your phone for filmmaking. Heck, I'm shooting this video on my phone. This phone's broken, it doesn't even work. I dropped that one in the creek. Oops. I recently went on a 3-week backpacking trip through Europe where I made it a goal to shoot a travel video for every city I went to. So I did a lot of research into mobile filmmaking, and it wasn't until I started actually shooting when I realized, holy crap, there are so many things that online tutorials were not teaching me. So I made a list of all the things that I personally learned so that when you're using your phone as a camera, you're not going to struggle like I did. Now this isn't a tutorial on the best settings for shooting. There's a ton of tutorials out there on YouTube, so I'm not going to waste your time. This tutorial is strictly the lessons that I learned that I want to pass on to you. The things that I wish they had taught me in other tutorials that would have saved me time, energy, stress. This is my top 10 list of the things that they didn't teach me in other tutorials that I want to teach you. Tip number 1. Treat your phone as a camera. Don't think of it as a phone. If you have an additional phone that you can use, I would recommend using that as your primary form of communication, texting, calling, looking up transit times, looking where to go on Google Maps, and treating your better phone as your camera. This way you can keep your camera on airplane mode, and that will just strictly be your camera, so your other phone as your means of communication. Tip number 2. You're going to want to get an app that allows you full access to your camera's potential. The onboard native app that comes, the camera app on your phone, doesn't give you quite full access to everything that an app like FILMic Pro will do. I recommend FILMic Pro. Now that's just the one that I've used. If you know any other ones, I want to know about it. This will allow you to play around with the frame rate, change the resolution. Now, I think the most important thing that FILMic Pro does, in my opinion, is you can lock your exposure and focus so that in mid-shot it's not changing. Now, if you do get a gimbal like DJI, it comes with an app, but I wouldn't recommend shooting on that because that's one thing you can't do, and it's so frustrating. You can't lock your exposure and focus, so mid-shot everything changes. I would only really recommend using the DJI app for time lapses and hyperlapses and all that fun stuff that it does, because there's some really cool things that it does. Tip number 3. This one I realized midway shooting. I think I was in Berlin, and I realized that it is always so annoying. You're about to shoot and something exciting happens and you got to pull out your phone, scroll through all your multiple pages of annoying apps, find FILMic Pro, hit it, let it load, pull your camera out, and crap, the moment's passed. So a little tip that I learned was by taking the app and moving it down into the home bar. That way, doesn't matter what screen you're on, when you unlock your phone, boom, right there. Another trick I learned is just keeping the app running all the time. Don't turn it off, because when the moment happens, you can hit it and it's not going to load. It's just going to already be pre-opened in your phone, because it kind of takes a little while to load, and that's just such a buzzkill. Tip number 4. Another trick I learned was, if you have a passcode, it's so annoying to pull it out and boom, 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 boom. Go to the app, pull it out, and the moment's passed. So go into your settings and change it so your passcode has a longer time frame. It'll be good for, I don't know, half an hour. That way you don't have to keep putting it in every time. Tip number 5. You're going to want to use a gimbal of some sort. Now basically a gimbal is just a fancy word for a stabilizer. Basically what that does is it gives you nice smooth shots, because nothing gives away amateur filmmaking than shaky shots. So by doing this, you can, keep the camera still while you're moving it around, and everything just looks so much better. This will add so much production value to your films. If you're going to invest in one piece of equipment for mobile filmmaking, you're going to want to get one of these. Now this is a DJI Mobile 2. This is so much fun to play around with. There's a couple of other ones on the market. This is the one I have, and it's so much fun. Tip number 6. You're going to want to make sure that you have the most amount of space on your phone as possible. Now, one of the things that I discovered that I had no idea existed was these little mini flash drives that actually plug into your phone. What I did when I was on my trip was I would shoot all day in the city. Every time I got in a plane to another city, I would plug this in and download all the footage onto this drive and kept it safe. That way I could wipe all the footage on my phone, which takes up a lot of space. It would live on here until I got home and I'd plug it into my computer. I was unable to travel around with my laptop, so by having this tiny little piece of flash drive amazingness, I was able to shoot a ton of footage and not worry about getting that stupid little notification that everybody freaking hates. Now, there's one thing I do want to warn you is this one in particular wasn't the greatest one. It took a really long time to back up stuff from my phone onto this. Before you go out on the road, I would practice because it takes a while. It took me quite a bit of time to transfer stuff. Like, it wasn't as quick as it is on your computer. This is not something that you do while on the go. This is something you do when you have the time to sit down and download all the footage from your phone to your flash drive. Tip number 7. Everybody knows your iPhone battery sucks. If the first notification of having not enough storage was one of the most annoying things, this is the second one. There's nothing more stressful than seeing that one little red, stupid little portion of the battery. If you're shooting on your mobile, you're gonna wanna do it in airplane mode. This way you're not gonna be connected to the cellular network and your phone is just not gonna use as much battery. I always recommend shooting in airplane mode and getting yourself a little handy external battery pack. FILMic Pro eats away at your battery. It's terrible. So by having an external battery pack when you're not shooting, you can be charging. Tip number 8. Lenses, because your phone doesn't really have that many lenses. In fact, it only really has one, unless you have an iPhone 7 or more where you have the dual lens. Now, this is the Ollo clip. This is what I used in Europe. It comes with 4 lenses in one, but I mean, only really one of them was useful. So what it is it's a external lens that just pops onto your phone and it'll give you wide angle or fisheye, which can be kind of fun for certain types of shots. If you're using a lens, which I recommend, the lens unfortunately will throw the balance off on your gimbal. So you're gonna wanna make a counterweight. I went to the hardware store, I brought a little scale and I weighed out the lens and I went around and I found little washers and I taped them together and then I put a little Velcro on it. And this way I could stick it to my gimbal and it will just act as a counterweight so it balances it out. Now, one very crucial thing I forgot to add is if you're using a lens, this is especially with the wide angle lens, the lens will catch the corner of the arm of the gimbal and it'll ruin your shots. Now, you can just zoom in the shot a bit, but that'll degrade your resolution. So the trick that I learned is if you pull the camera and push it further up, then you're gonna have to find the balance again. That will eliminate getting the arm of the gimbal in the shot. Tip number 9. If you're shooting on a iPhone 7 or up, Apple introduced OIS, stands for Optic Image Stabilization. Now that's super helpful for just your average day person who's shooting on their phone because what it does is the camera is actually floating around between a couple magnets. When you're shooting handheld and you might have a little bit of jitter, it will smooth it out so you get nice, smoother handheld shots. But the problem is when you're shooting on a gimbal is this gives you smooth and your little camera will give you smooth and they fight against each other so you get something really weird and it looks like this, where everything's a little jittery and it just doesn't look as smooth. Now, I know this is an iPhone 6. This doesn't have OIS, but my iPhone 8 Plus does, and it's super annoying. There's this hack you can do where you get just a small little magnet and you actually just pop it on the front of your camera, and what that does is it holds the camera in place. Now, I've done this a couple times. It has not affected my camera, it hasn't done any damage, but this is something I wouldn't really recommend doing if you're scared that it might do something because I don't know if it will ruin your camera. This is something that I have done and it has worked for me. If you're wanting to take the risk and try it, then by all means. Something that I do is when I'm using the magnet on the camera is I only keep it on there for when I'm shooting. When I'm done shooting, I will take the magnet off my camera and put it in my pocket so that it's not on there for a prolonged period of time. Tip number 10. If you have a big trip coming up or you have a project that you want to shoot and you've never shot a mobile phone, is don't just wing it. You're gonna want to get practice, because I'm not gonna lie, shooting on mobile phone has been frustrating at times. It doesn't work the way you want. It takes time to set it up. Now, shooting on mobile has allowed me the freedom of not carrying around a large bulky camera or having other expensive gear. It's a piece of equipment I already owned, but the bottom line is you're gonna want to practice. So go out on the street, get practice walking around your city, get varying types of shots, play around with different camera settings, play around with higher frame rate, lower frame rate, everything. Just watch as many tutorials as you can and then go out in the real world and practice before you actually go on your trip and shoot. And then lastly is just have fun with it. It's a challenge that I took on that I really wanted to try to conquer it. It's not as easy as just picking up a nice, beautiful DSLR, but the results can be amazing if you put in the work. I've had so many people come up to me like, oh wow, what camera are you shooting on? This is great. And the second I tell them I'm shooting on my phone, their mind is just blown, because the trick is you want to try to make it look as least like you're shooting on your phone and you're shooting on an expensive camera. So just have fun with it, you know, get creative, get cool shots, incorporate time lapses, hyperlapses, slow motion. Your phone you can put in multiple places. You can have it up high in like a little corner and shoot something. And the benefit of that is it's tiny. You just put it in your pocket and you're good to go. You can go on hikes, you can go on traveling trips, you can go into bars and shoot whatever you want. And it's so non-discreet, people aren't gonna question it because it's your phone. The possibilities is endless. You can do so much with it, so just have fun with it. Now that brings me to the end of my tutorial on mobile filmmaking. I really want to hear your comments in the comments below. What other tips or tricks do you have on mobile filmmaking? Is there anything that you learned that you really want to share? Because I'm just a newbie at this and I just wanted to share my experience so that other people who might be in the same boat can learn on it and improve. Be sure to hit subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and thanks for hanging out, guys. Mwah. Mwah, 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 mwah. Peace.